Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Stoney Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about 3 uses that you can have for cold frames in the springtime in your garden. So stay tuned for that. Before we get started, please make sure you get subscribed to our channel. Click that notification bell so you get noticed every time I release new videos. So we love cold frames. As you can see, we've got 3 of them. They're all 4 by 8 foot cold frames, and we just love growing in them. And so today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different uses in the spring for those cold frames. Use number 1 is early planting. So I don't know if you can see back here. I'll do a cutaway so you can see closer. We actually have our spring spinach bed already up and growing, and we're starting to see the first set of true leaves on our plants. And it is only March 28th when I'm filming this video. So how did we manage that? By using a cold frame. So I was able to plant in this cold frame at the end of February. We planted this bed on about February 28th. And despite the fact that it snowed 4 times, we've had temperatures down as low as about 25 degrees, we were still able to get this spinach to germinate and off and going so much earlier than we would otherwise. Had I not had a cold frame, I would just now be starting to think about putting the spinach out into the main part of the garden unprotected. But because of the cold frame, we're a whole month sooner than we could be otherwise. And here's another example of early planting. You can see back here, I've got some lettuce plants that are already started. I've got about a dozen plants here. We actually put these in towards the end of February using seedlings that I had started indoors, and they're coming along really well. I would imagine we'll be able to start harvesting from these again in about 3 or 4 weeks, way earlier than we would had we directly planted these out into the garden. So cold frames are amazing for allowing you to get started extra early on the season, usually a month to 6 weeks sooner than you could otherwise if you've got a cold frame. Here's reason number 2 why a cold frame is so handy in the springtime, and that is hardening off your transplants. So I've got a tray here which has some kale, some Swiss chard, and then our onion seedlings for the season. And it is time to start thinking about getting them out in the garden, but they've been tucked inside under lights where it's 70 degrees. They've been getting plenty of water, are just loving life, and we can't just bring them out and throw them in the garden. We need to give them a chance to harden a little bit and get used to the outside temperatures. And so a cold frame is a great place to do that because it allows you to bring your seedlings out and still offer them a level of protection, but yet get them used to the swings in temperature and being outside, the extra sun and light that they're going to get. And so using a cold frame to harden off your seedlings is great. And maybe even a bonus for you here would be you can also use a cold frame to start seedlings in. So if you don't have an indoor seed starting setup, but you do have a cold frame, you can get a lot of your seedlings planted in a cold frame and let them get started and grow out here. Now, we're talking mostly about cool season crops that you're going to be starting in a cold frame. Right now for us, nighttime temperatures are still dropping well into the 40s and sometimes even into the 30s. We're still getting frost, and so warm season crops are not going to like those conditions, things like tomatoes and peppers. But cool season crops, all of your leafy greens, your brassica family plants would love to get started in a cold frame. And so a cold frame is another option for you there to get some seedlings started outside instead of if you don't have that indoor seed starting setup. And this is reason number 3 why we love having a cold frame in the spring, and that is overwintering crops. So this cold frame is full of carrots that we planted all the way back in August, middle of August last fall. We let them grow up in the fall, then we covered them up with the cold frame, and we have been harvesting from these carrots all winter long. We've got some nice little finger carrots here that are doing just great, and we've been harvesting for a solid 6 weeks now from this bed. We're about halfway through with them, and it's getting a little bit late in the season. We actually want to replant this bed to potatoes, so we'll probably dig the rest of these out this weekend and have a great harvest of carrots. But I mean, it's just normally time for us to be thinking about planting carrots directly out in the garden, and here we are harvesting carrots that we planted all the way last fall. And that is another one of the real benefits of having a cold frame in your garden. So we absolutely love having cold frames. As you can see, we have 3 cold frames. Basically, let's talk about the structure of a cold frame. It's simply just a box with a glass lid or some type of clear lid that we can use to protect our crops in. You can make the box out of pretty much anything you want. Mine happen to be made out of dimensional lumber, so we start with a 12 by 2 in the back and an 8 by 2 in the front, so that we've got a little bit of a slope. That slope does a couple of things for us. Number one, it helps the sun to come in a little bit better, but the other thing that it's really handy for is it helps the water and the snow to slide off and not pool on top of our glass, okay? Now, what about the tops? What can they be made out of? So mine are actually made out of plexiglass, and so we've just put these 2 by 4 foot pieces of plexiglass inside a little frame. And that was actually really nice to do, and they have lasted a long time. But over the years, we've had these cold frames for 13 years. Over the years, we've actually lost some of these lids to wind and other mistakes and things like that. And so this middle cold frame is actually just covered with plastic. So you can do that as well. You just need to keep in mind that when you cover it with plastic, it's not going to give quite as much thermal protection as the glass or the plexiglass would. So you'll get more protection out of glass or plexiglass, but you can just use plastic as well, especially if you live in warmer areas. And then that lid can just be anything. You can use old windows, old storm doors. The boxes don't have to be 4 by 8 foot. They can be whatever size works out for your garden. And so you just build those, and they just come in so handy because they protect your crops and get you started earlier, help you overwinter things, and help you to harden. So they're a great addition to your garden. You ought to build one this spring. Hey, if you would like to learn a little bit more about year-round gardening and how to have a 365-day-a-year harvest like I do, we can harvest something from our garden 365 days a year, even in Zone 6B. There's a really easy way for you to learn. I've got a free mini course that you can sign up for. It's called the Year-Round Gardening Mini Course. There's a link in the description of this video that you can click on that will teach you a little bit more about that. You can get signed up for it. It's about 45 minutes long. It's a fun free course that you can sign up for. So there's a link in the description down there. And also, if you would like to learn more from my YouTube videos as well, I've got a link right here to a playlist that I've created about winter gardening and spring and cold frames and hoop houses and a lot of different things that you can use there. So check that out as well. All right, that's all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a great week. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Happy gardening.